IMSA has thrown crossed flags in the inaugural season of the championship, and for the road racing folks that aren't too sure what that means we are halfway home. It has been a spectacular first half for this brand new championship, from Jordan Pritchard stunning everyone and winning on an energy save strategy in Daytona to a three-way podium duel for Sunshine Autos in Pocono. We have had plenty of action. Tonight, we will see if Paul Crone can pull away from championship competitor Ian Lane after Crone finally took the yellow number plate last week in Miami. We will be watching with excitement as we welcome you to the IMSA Service Experts eRoval Series with Bryan Sawyer in the production truck and Cody Erdmann next to me in the commentary box. I am Josh Mertz as we are live from the Rockingham Speedway in Rockingham, North Carolina on the Automotive Sports Network. Our coverage and series are both brought to you by the Service Experts Advantage program. Get worry-free comfort at one low monthly payment. And for more information, visit serviceexperts.com. Cody, last week we were at Homestead, more of an intermediate roval. This week we're at a short track bull ring, even shorter than Iowa and New Hampshire. We've got the high bank corners of turns 1 and 2 of the NASCAR oval. Tight infield circuit. How are you and what are your thoughts?
Yeah, glad to be here. Glad to be with you guys tonight, like our usual Sunday nights have been lately. Yeah, it should be interesting. This will be, I think, probably one of the farthest entrance we have going into the infield sections of our tracks we've had so far, as they make it almost to NASCAR turn 3 before they have to make a hard left turn into the infield. So these guys are going to be carrying a ton of speed going into the infield, so it should be interesting. I know Rockingham, the oval section, I know for myself, I've ran it up plenty of times, so the oval of 1 and 2 is almost kind of a late apex, so it's going to be interesting to see who knows how to run it and who doesn't. They will kind of show the true oval drivers and who are more the road ringers of the series, so should be interesting. I'm really looking forward to seeing who can tackle this course. I think it's probably one of the least amount of corners we have on the circuit. I think probably this and Iowa.
It is 1.5 miles and technically 7 corners according to the track map that I found. I wrote my script earlier on thinking that Ian Lane would be here. He is not. But what makes this interesting is his drop week will be tonight. It'll change from Daytona. Daytona, he had 29 points. So we're not going to really talk about estimating points because both of them aren't here tonight. I did get clarification on who wins the feature race, or the race overall, I should say. It is going to be scored like a supercross or a motocross format, so the finishes from the 2 feature races will be averaged, and if there's a tie in that average, whoever finishes higher in the second feature will be the tiebreaker. And you kind of took the words out of my mouth, Cody, on the late apex through 1 and 2. I was on track earlier on, and exited turn 2, the wall is there. The corner, it's not a very wide apex like most ovals, and both of them, both Stephen Gibson and James Watson, did exactly what I was doing every single time, and the car behind them, it's Logan Lax. All 3 of them did what I did every lap. You think you can barrel off into the first hairpin of the oval, but it's such a short little straightaway. I found myself, you have to brake by the Thunder Alley, the end of that sign on the backstretch. It's painted on the wall. So that's going to be that and the chicane going into the final corner that they just went through on shot here. That corner seems wider than it is, or wider than it is, but it is very narrow because you can't go very far to the left to get a sweeping line in. So doesn't look tricky on paper, but certainly very tricky course here in Rockingham.
Yeah, Rockingham's usually been just a trickier course even on the oval itself, with kind of, you almost want to enter about a car with high coming into turn 1, and then you kind of let the car just naturally drift down, because it's almost like a double apex corner in a way on how it's configured. And then I've noticed some drivers have been staying on the apron when they come back on the oval from the infield section, and some drivers are jumping back on the banking. So I'm curious, what is the faster of the 2 options?
So let's see if we can hopefully ride on board maybe the front bumper of Broderick Johnson here in the 82, just to get a feel of turn 5, called Fish Hook, double apex hairpin in the infield. And like I had mentioned, you can run on the paint or on that asphalt on the left-hand side. It ends, so you don't have that super wide entry into the corner. You basically have to treat this like 2 separate corners, not like a quick right-left. And like you said, Cody, you can run all the way to the wall. You can run on the apron. I ran on the apron in my laps. I wouldn't really want to hit the banking with too much force, given how steep it is. You might break something.
As we noticed too, these drivers will be able to run the apron through what is the pseudo tri-oval. It's kind of a pretty flattened tri-oval compared to like Atlanta or Las Vegas or something. So it's a pretty straight shot into turn one there. But yeah, it should be an interesting. We got the little bit of a chicane there, so it'll funnel down. That's pretty much the funnel down point. It's pretty much when it comes back on the oval in a way. Go right here, take a hard right, and then this half hairpin left. But yeah, some drivers are keeping it real nice and tidy like we are right here. Just right up on the banking, and then hammer down to the start finish line here.
As we rode on board with Daytona Beach winner Jordan Pritchard in car number 9. We'll take a look at points coming into round number 6 here in Rockingham. Points leader Paul Crone will have the yellow number plate. He's got a 6-point lead over Ian Lane. Lane not here, like I said. That's going to switch up some drop weeks throughout the field. Broderick Johnson, 19 points back on Paul Crone. Pritchard, 4 points down on Johnson, so we'll keep an eye on those guys. And Bob Poplet, but Bob Poplet, I don't believe, he is not here either. Nicholas Isidro, Dringen Wang, Aaron Totten, Riley Downey, James Watson. That's the top 10. Riley Downey up 6 positions from last week. Great run in Homestead. A little bit smaller field this week. We were talking before we came on air. The Rock is pretty much a NASCAR track, and it's known as a NASCAR track. Just happens to have a roval. And it's not a bad thing. You always want to run even the obscure content, because you never know if you have one guy that loves this obnoxiously obscure track, and maybe he shows up. But 10 drivers, so we will have effectively a full field invert after the first feature race.
Yeah, as we got, I would say our usual squad of drivers mostly. A couple of them are taking the night off, which is perfectly okay. This is right now. Broderick Johnson jumps down to the first one of the night to jump in the 49, so he's 2 tenths up on Wang, and then Crone, Pritchard, and Gibson are top 5.
As Broderick Johnson. Remember, you do get the points as Dringen Wang passes Logan Lax, who pummels the tire barrier on the back straightaway there. You do get up to 4 points for winning the pole. You get a point in fourth, fill in the gaps for second and third. And you do get a point for the fastest lap. Now, what they were doing previously is they were adding all the points together to find out who wins the overall weekend. Had a chat with Dylan Thomas, and I explained that doesn't make it easy for us or your drivers or the viewers. So like I mentioned previously, we're going to have that coverage of the feature races. So it just makes it a little bit easier for everyone to know what is happening. A couple programming notes on the Automotive Sports Network. Tomorrow, the Overwatch Specialty Service NASA Rallycross Challenge will wrap up the 26th season of competition. You'll join myself and Philip Kraus 9 p.m. Eastern Time on ASN Live on Twitch at the Phoenix Raceway in Avondale, Arizona. We've got a 2-man fight for that championship after a couple of them were eliminated after pretty rough races for Magnus Okenhaug and Josh Klog. So Alex Abetti, Francois Martel. We will have a new champion in NASA, but a returning nation, either Canada or Germany, for that Drivers' Championship. Next Sunday, the Service Experts eRoval Series will be in Indianapolis, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on ASN Live. Myself, Cody Erdmann, Bryan Sawyer for that. So we expect, given the fact that Indianapolis is a world-famous race course used in so many different disciplines, we're trusting that we will have a decent-sized field, so be sure to tune in for that next week. Dringen Wang has pipped Paul Crone and Broderick Johnson through that programming note, so the Taiwanese driver will go to provisional pole by a 1/10 of a second over Paul Crone. So, top 3 under a 1/10 of a second, Cody.
Yeah, is it not sure if the weather's going down or what's happening, but everyone's starting to find some speed in this place.
As Paul Crone exits the pit lane, trying to find Broderick Johnson. He is on track as well. Johnson is on a flying lap. As I'll pay attention, he might be conserving something to begin a flyer, but we'll have to wait and see. Behind him is Steven Gibson. When I was talking to Dylan Thomas about the order, I was in the general chat in their Discord, and I overheard that Steven Gibson previously ran some TCR cars on Roval, so he's got some experience on these tracks. We know how crucial that is, so we expect him to be up front as well. Broderick Johnson on a flying lap. We still got 5 minutes left. So let's see if he can get pole position, get those couple extra bonus points. As I'm flicking through the field here, Drinjen Wang still on pit lane. Paul Crone basically right behind Broderick Johnson. So Cody, we'll have to watch these two and see if they can potentially take pole position back.
As we got essentially 3 of our top 4 with Pritchard is right behind Crone as well. So we got to see who can kind of thread on a heater. Just kind of like F1 qualifying. Everyone's kind of in the line. All of a sudden the time just jump up on the board.
49.9. Gibson a 50 flat. Paul Crone did not set a lap time. I think he might have gotten an off track. Can we talk about Drinjen Wang for a minute? Had that wonderful qualifying lap in Homestead, but got a timing mix-up. He thought the 5-minute warm-up was after qualifying. It's after the first feature race, so he completely missed that start. And what redemption that would be for him to be on pole position here in Rockingham, to be 2 in a row.
Yes, he's been showing some really good pace the last couple of weeks, especially in qualifying. It looks like right now at the moment he is 2 for 2 in the past 2 weeks of getting pole. So let's see if he can hopefully redeem himself going into these features here. See if he can get some good points and jump up in the point standings with not everyone showing up. It's a good night to have a good points night.
As I thought Paul Crone was going to be on a qualifying lap. He might still be, but it will not count unless it does. 49.879. He was just a pinch slower than himself. I thought the sim wouldn't have counted it. He clobbered the wall in NASCAR Turn 4. But these guys slowly running out of time. And Wang is still in the pit lane. Jordan Pritchard has exited the pit lane, but Johnson and Crone have not. Never mind. Crone exits the pit lane. Johnson still stationary in car number 82. And like we mentioned so many times before, Cody, it's not like F1. When the timer hits 0, it's over. So you have to make sure that you have the time to get up to speed, run your lap, and get it done.
Yeah, so pretty much that's why you notice a lot of drivers leaving pit lane right now, because it should be just enough time to get a lap in or two, just so you get the heat up, the tire heat up just enough so the car starts gripping really well. So I think right now is pretty much your last chance.
Let's see if we can perfect ride on board. Thank you, Bryan Sawyer, for that one. We ride on board Paul Crone in car number 38. A lot of drivers using the end of that wall as the apex four-wheel drift, as remember, they're all-wheel drive in these fully electric Porsche Mission Rs. Just under, or just over, 2.5 minutes. Down to turns number 1 and 2. On the brakes on entry. Very tricky to get the oval corner right. Why do you say that? I say that because the wall is right there, exiting turn 2. Brake very early, much earlier than you'd think. Down to turn number 3, rounding this very tricky hairpin. Goes on forever. Four-wheel drift, exiting the corner. Down the pump house straight, into Fishhook. Double apex corner. One here. Push out wide to diamond the corner. Get down to the curb. Out to the other curb, down the paddock straight. One last chicane left, like I mentioned, narrower than it looks. You have to basically treat this as 2 separate corners. Turn 6, turn 7. Let's see what he does here, Cody. Exiting turn 7, clobbers the banking, runs way out wide, diamonds the exit, and Crone, this might be his last flying lap. Maybe another one, 49.926. Still not quicker.
As Crone's been super consistent in like the mid 8s and 9s. So he's been running super quick. Just see if he can put that consistency out in the race. We got Broderick Johnson here. He's trying to go out for a heater at the moment. Let's see if he can possibly jump Crone and Wang. As the top 3 are separated by just over a 10th, which is crazy. And we're
focused on Broderick Johnson. We have 1.25 minutes left to go. His last lap is a 49.979. He will begin lap number 11 as scored, and we'll see if he can fight for the pole position. Just under a 10th he's looking for, just over. Exiting turn 2. Car complaining under acceleration. You can gain so much time down to turn 3, but you can also lose it, like we talked about in the opener. Hooking the grass to get the car to rotate like a rally car. Broderick rallycrosses tomorrow as we go down to Fishhook. Misses the first apex. Can he get it down to the second apex? Seemed very slow, but he gets the drive off the corner, down paddock straight. That's probably the widest you can take it through turn 6. Turn 7, you can kind of forget about because it's a late apex, and this is going to be his last run. Leaning on the right rear tire exiting the final corner. As we're going to take 20 seconds left, this will be Johnson's last lap, a 50.324. As let's take a look and see if there's any other challengers. Stephen Gibson on a flying lap as well in car number 21. Exits the oval down to the line, 50.346. Logan Lax at the line, beginning a lap, so that will not count. And I think Paul Krohn miscalculated it, so he will not get pole position, as Drinjen Wang, second pole position in a row, by just under a tenth of a second from Paul Krohn.
There's one thing I've noticed is that the curbs on the infield are like absolutely tiny, width-wise and length. Some of them are like 5 feet long, so there's not much of a curb there to use. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that.
Johnson, Gibson, Pritchard, Bajent, Thomas, Lax, Totten, Watson, and Lucas Simonson. Remember, our series and broadcast brought to you by the Service Experts Advantage program. Get worry-free comfort at one low monthly payment. For more information, visit serviceexperts.com. Cody Erdmann and Josh Mertz in the commentary box. Bryan Sawyer in the production truck as we get ready for Feature 1, green flag in Rockingham. Third, fourth on the grid. Stephen Gibson, terrible start. Down to turn 1. Krohn's going to have side-by-side on Drinjen Wang through turns 1 and 2 of the oval. As remember, very bumpy, very quick exiting the corner. Down to turn number 3. Where will everybody break? Entering the infield. One car sneaks to the inside. Dylan Thomas. It's 3 wide as Gibson is sandwiched with Bajent. Contact and Bajent off the road. Around is Thomas in the 0-0. Back up front. Wang, Krohn, Johnson, Pritchard. The top 4 as Gibson got swallowed up on that start. And the guy that didn't get a good run from that, Dylan Thomas. But Drinjen Wang now trying to redeem himself. He got the pole position, Cody. He made the grid this time, now looking to pull away.
Yeah, see if we can kind of put this race together. Already checked out for about 3/4 of a second lead over our point leader Krohn. So good run so far after the end of first lap 1.
As Paul Krohn went in chat before they gridded, he said, "Don't forget to grid in time," with a winky face, and clearly Drinjen Wang has not forgotten to grid this time. Broderick Johnson ran the apron on the oval in turn 4 of the oval, while Krohn was way up top. It's going to be interesting to see. I think Broderick might be a pinch quicker than Krohn. Granted, we're a lap and a half in, but Johnson's showing pace in that 82, all over the rear wing. But like you mentioned, Cody, Drinjen Wang trying to pull away. Gap is just over 3/4. Make it nearly a second here. But let's pay attention to the different lines as Johnson all over again on Krohn.
Yeah, as Krohn jumps up way to the top side and Johnson keeps it to the bottom. They seem to be pretty equal, so I don't think it's that much of a difference. I think it does seem at the end, once they go into NASCAR 1 there, is Wang is our fastest lap leader so far with a 52.4. So good lap there by him so far.
As remember, Destino Motorsports has sponsored our feature Fastest Lap Award. You'll get the Destino Motorsports Dash Award. You'll get a $5 iRacing credit if you are the driver to get that fastest lap by the end of the evening. Top 3 are trying to pull away. I say that because Jordan Pritchard sneaking into the picture. Double apex, wide late apex is Krohn. As Totten blasts sorry on chat. I think he hit James Watson. They're battling for the 6th position, it looks like. As Johnson, once again, closing in on Krohn. Pritchard hanging there. And Stephen Gibson, after that schmozzle in turn 3, still holding P5 in what I believe is his first EMSA race.
Yeah, the top 4 have kind of checked out a little bit. As Paul Krohn now goes to the fastest on the board. He's starting to reel in Wang. Not sure if that was a little bit help with the draft. Had big dive bomb into turn 3 there. Just top 3 are kind of starting to do the accordion effect. They're starting to bunch up, especially here in the infield.
Around fishhook turn 5. Drinjen Wang really squirrely under acceleration. Might have burned the tires up trying to stay ahead of these guys. And that's such a deceiving, like I've mentioned so many times already, deceiving entry into turn 6. You think you can run that asphalt there, and it's a lot like the curbs. It just ends. Krohn, huge run, exiting turn 7. NASCAR turn 4, turn 8 overall, I should say. Wang's going to break the slipstream down the front straightaway. Lap for him, 53 flat to a 52.6 to a 52.5 from Krohn to Johnson. They are ripping it around this track here in North Carolina.
As now we're going back down into the infield. Hard on the brakes for Krone. Right to the back wing there. But Wang does get a little bit of a better drive up off the corner.
Like we say so many times as we ride on board, Paul Krone, points leader with the yellow number plate. The gap just over a quarter of a second. As we take a look at the fastest laps between each of them and the last laps between each of them. And Drinjen Wang not in a leading position until right now. Like I said, he had that issue in Miami. And Broderick Johnson says, I don't care about either one of you, all over the rear wing of Paul Krone. Down the front straightaway. Will he sneak to the inside? Maybe make a pass through turns 1 and 2. I don't think we've seen a pass through the oval section of any of these courses, although I could be horribly wrong. Back onto the back straightaway and down into the infield.
Hard heavy on the brakes again. I didn't notice that Krone that last time coming back on the oval. He seemed a little bit later on the throttle than the other two. That's where Johnson got right up on the back wing of him, but wasn't able to do anything with it. Now Krone's able to kind of start putting pressure on Wang at the moment, right on his back bumper.
Second lap in a row that he was squirrely off of the fish hook, through the funnel, and down paddock straight.
As these three drivers have just checked out a little bit over Pritchard, and then Gibson's all by himself there in P5. And
like I've said before, if something goes wrong with these three, and we've seen it so many times, whether it was Pocono, New Hampshire, Daytona, I'll just say every single race, Pritchard's in the catbird seat. Gets right by and maybe takes the lead, and we've seen that. We saw that at Iowa, Miami. Krone to the inside, thought better of it, contact, and the points leader's around.
Oh, make sure he doesn't come back on the track right in front of Gibson, as they're safe. So now we put Krone from P2 to P5 at the moment. So let's see if he can rally, at least get around Gibson there. I don't think he'll have enough time to catch back up to the top threes. Everyone seemed pretty equal.
As Pritchard now sits in third. Right when I go to talk about it, you can add another notch to the commentator's curse, which will happen on that Discord channel. They keep track of how many times we've cursed their drivers. So welcome everyone to the Automotive Sports Network on ASN Live, on Twitch, I should say. Josh Mertz, Cody, Erdmann, Bryan, Sawyer, or on ASN On Demand on YouTube. Thank you for joining us for the EMSA Service Experts eRoval series here at the Rockingham Speedway in North Carolina. Broderick Johnson was an equal lap time, essentially 53 dead, to Drinjen Wang. These two, top of the field. Wang slides it again, Cody.
Guys, he's really starting to heat up those rear tires. Hopefully he doesn't make a mistake with it. As
3 laps in a row.
Johnson's right on that back wing there. See if he's able to do anything possibly going into NASCAR 1.
I'm excited to see what Pritchard's lap time updates to, because he's just under a second and a half from these guys, but he did gain a lot of momentum. 53.6, Wang into the wall, entering turn 1. 53.3 for Johnson, 53 flat for Pritchard. Wang feeling the pressure. He hit the wall entering turn 1. Johnson to the inside. Thought better of it.
As these two are starting to battle, it is letting Pritchard catch up just a little bit.
Through fish hook, through the funnel. First lap in a while that Wang didn't have any wheel spin. Exiting fish hook through the funnel. We'll have to look at the last lap time. The gap has lengthened back to 2 seconds, basically, to Pritchard. But they're doing the famous accordion effect of road racing. The gap looks small, and then you exit the corner while you're still in the corner. As Krone has gotten by Stephen Gibson, we were talking about that right after that happened. Krone, I don't think will have time. I do agree with you, unless something happens with the top two. But still, every point crucial.
Yeah, as Gibson looks to bring the fight back to him. Got a really good run into NASCAR 1. See if he dive bombs it in. No, he thought better of it. As Krone shuts the door on him.
Because you do have anti-lock brakes in these cars. But that means really no heroics on the brakes. Because the car stops at whatever rate that it wants to. Last lap for Krone, just to put this into perspective, 53.4. 54.1 for Gibson. So he lost a huge chunk of time. We can take a look on our timing. as we are just over 11 minutes left to go in this first feature race. And Drinjen Wang trying to get this win. Remember, if he wins this race, he didn't win it yet. There's still that second 20-minute feature race. That will give us the overall order. And the field will invert, as we do have the 10 cars. It will be an even 10-car invert. Boy, that would have been cruel, as we are missing Lucas Simonson. He was registered for the session, but did not race. If we had 11 cars, there'd be one guy on the short end of the stick who would finish 11th and then grid 11th for that second feature.
There's shout out to Callie Bajan. She was able to rally from that turn 1 incident, or lap 1 incident, all the way up to P6 now. So good rallying back by her.
Steven Gibson had some issues exiting Fishhook through the funnel. He clipped the curb on the second phase of that corner, and it ripped the grass and took him out of contention, battling Paul Crone. So he still sits in 5th. Sights of Callie Bajan, her sights are set now on the 21 of Steven Gibson. The gap up front has stabilized. Drinjen Wang might have cooled those tires down sufficiently. He was 10th up on Broderick Johnson that last lap. As hopefully we have fixed our graphical issues, as it wasn't even known to me that we were having issues, as I didn't know until Bryan Sawyer comes into my ears and tells me that. So thank you, good sir.
As Crone has reeled these leaders in a little bit, hasn't been a lot, just a couple tenths each lap. Don't think it's gonna be enough time, but he is trying to catch as much as he can.
Aaron Totten of the pit lane in car number 28. James Watson has spun off track, as I'm just looking through timing and scoring.
As Gibson has as well, actually.
As Gibson did. Oh, he spun again. So let's see what happened. It was in turn 6 and 7.
Grass.
Clipped the grass, just like he did through the Fishhook. But you drop one tire onto this grass, and it's just unrelenting. We'll see here. Curb, grass, right rear. Classic move. Classic unfortunate move, I should say.
Yeah.
So we can get up front. Sorry to interrupt. We have a battle for the lead. Drinjen Wang and Broderick Johnson, they were super close entering the road course, I should say, through Fishhook. And maybe Johnson just cooled his stuff down, Cody, to make a second lunge at Drinjen Wang here.
It very well could be. Kind of letting your tires, letting everything kind of cool down so you make another run at it. See what happens here, going through NASCAR 1 and 2, right down to the white line. Come back on the back straightaway here. Down through Thunder Alley into the infield. Ooh, deep dive bomb.
Deep on the brakes. That could have ended in tears, as I was just about to mention that Wang started getting on the brakes right at the end of Thunder Alley signage on that wall. Like I mentioned in the opener, Broderick Johnson might have pinched the brakes a little bit farther than that. So we do have Drinjen Wang fans in the chat, so hopefully your man can take the fight and take this win in feature race number 1. Just under 7 3/4 minutes left to go here at Rockingham.
Because I'm going to be really interested to see what these drivers can do in the second feature, having them drive through the field. That's always entertaining to watch. I was just at a local short track race up by me, and they had twin features like this, and the second invert was a lot bigger than the first, and made things pretty interesting.
As speaking of interesting, Paul Crone, at least when I had looked, slashed nearly a second off the gap from the leader to himself. It's now 6 point, make it 1 second. But he's off the track, and another commentator curse. I'm really good at my job.
Do you got something like Harry Potter wand that you just wave over people? Usually when you're talking, not me.
I have wondered that for 10 years, ever since that I started really commentating live, and I don't know is the answer. So let's get a running order reset, as we have just over a quarter of this feature race left to go. Drinjen Wang has led from pole position despite having some squirrely issues, as David Croft would say, exiting turn 5, the Fishhook. Did not get passed by Broderick Johnson. Jordan Pritchard, our Daytona winner, sits in 3rd. Paul Crone, as Aaron Totten off the lead lap, but Callie Bajan up to P5. Logan Lax, Steven Gibson, as Gibson spun twice in car number 21. Dylan Thomas involved in the schmozzle in turn 3 on lap 1 as James Watson and Aaron Totten both pitted for some car damage. Use the fast repairs. You do get one fast repair in each feature race, which is kind of nice, but it's also still kind of ruining your race because you're pitting and you have to go down pit lane. But I'm kind of sad to admit that there's no strategy in this series anymore, but I do agree on a safety aspect. You don't know what guys are racing around you, and Pocono is a really scary race, Cody, with those guys going considerably slower down the front stretch. So I see why they made that change.
Yeah, that was I think Pocono is where we saw it the worst, where some drivers were doing 100 miles. It was an 80-mile-an-hour difference going off into turn 1, and that was starting to get a little bit. Even though we're not actually in the cars, that was getting dangerous, and that's something we didn't want to see. An accident happen.
As it does sound ridiculous to say safety in esports, but you know me. I like to act like we're actually here. I have a very strong affinity for treating this super serial, as the kids would say. As the gap is just over 3/4 of a second, Broderick Johnson had that moment for just a moment, potentially being able to take the fight to Wang, but he's cooled off here. And let's take a look at lap times. It's down to a 53.7 for each of them. Last lap, that was the previous lap, but this last lap that's updated, 53.5, 53.4 it looked like. So basically the same lap time between these guys. I would say maybe half a tenth is the difference.
Has these two been able to pull away from Pritchard? Pritchard's dropped back to almost 4 seconds now. These two have been able just to kind of keep their tires pretty balanced throughout and just run away from not having to worry about pressure from behind. As Wang's been able to just stretch that lead out now back to almost a second.
You're just joining us here on ASN Live on Twitch. Josh Mertz, Cody Erdmann, Bryan Sawyer. This is round 6 of the EMSA Service Experts eRoval Series. According to the Twitch description, we're at Iowa. That is a lie. I'm not very good at changing that, apparently. We're at Rockingham Speedway in Rockingham, North Carolina. Just under a quarter of the race left to go, just under 4 minutes. We have Drin Wang, who has led from pole position, ahead of Broderick Johnson. And Jordan Pritchard dropped way back. It looks like maybe he's conserving, or last lap is a 54. Cody, he might be conserving. Maybe we're running into some power issues.
So, little insider thing here with Jordan Pritchard, actually. He is battling an injury. He's been battling an injury all season. I believe it's something in his leg that he actually needs surgery for. And he can only run about 20 minutes or so. So, something that he's been kind of battling himself. I know we were looking forward to having him run the Suzuka 10-hour race, but he backed out of it, saying he wouldn't be able to run it. So that I do know, so I wonder if his one leg's kind of bothering him right now.
As we hope that once that surgery is able to happen, best wishes to Jordan Pritchard, driver of the ASN car for Sequential Sim Sport. Gap is 0.8 of a second from Wang to Johnson, turn 3. I think that's Johnson's best corner, but realistically, you got to make something happen. But also, I'm in the boat of, would Johnson do anything crazy? He's up on Crone, and Lane's not here. So, I mean, this could be a big points day for him.
This will probably be one of the better points days. Be able to kind of rally in. These were always kind of the days I looked for where this field was smaller, and especially if there was a car or two that I was trying to chase down in points in sim racing or in real life, where I kind of try to focus on making sure I have a good points day on smaller days like this, because it's easier to get a good points day out of it than having to worry about a couple of cars you're trying to chase down.
Are you trying to make a NASA reference even though it's been 20 minutes and we haven't made one? I see how it works.
We can make it a NASA reference, yes.
As last lap for Drin Wang at 53.742 was a 53.805, so just over half a tenth. Wang was faster than Johnson. Got on the dirt there with the very small curves. We take a look on monitor. This is Steven Gibson and Logan Lax on board Gibson in car 21. Wide entry down to the apex through 1 and 2. Huge run off the corner. Will he fight to the inside of Logan Lax on the brakes? Equal distance. I should say fair distance between them. Gibson looks like he got off the brakes and scooted out wide there, took the spot.
Guys looked like at one moment, kind of right in the middle of that corner, back end wanted to almost step out from Gibson, but he was able to keep it underneath him. Now he's going to try to set his sights back on Cali Bajan, who is about 3 seconds up the road from him.
And now the key for Drinjen Wang. We, of course, don't want to jinx him. Still a minute left to go. I think we're going to get the white flag this time, but we'll have to wait and see. He will grid in 10th, last for the second feature race, which is going to come up in a couple of minutes' time. And it's going to be crucial to see, can he tear through the field like he pulled away from the field in this first feature race? So we will have to see there, as I'll try and get... try and see if the flagger is going to throw the white flag here for Drinjen Wang. As, be honest, we're still trying to figure out when that white flag is thrown. We're going to have half a minute, 25 seconds now. So we'll just pay attention. White flag is in the air. So we are on the white flag lap here at Rockingham for Drinjen Wang.
As he was able to check out now. All of a sudden, Johnson's almost 2 seconds back. Not sure what happened that last lap.
54.4. So 0.6 down was that last lap. I'll try and take a look as we go through the hairpin, through turn 3. And it looked like Johnson just, I don't want to say give up, but maybe he did. Or maybe nursing power. We'll never really know, but we have just under, I should say, half a lap to go for Drinjen Wang. Final couple of corners. Turn number 6, turn 7, and if you count the turn 4, that'd be turn number 8. Back onto the oval. And half the job is done for Drinjen Wang. Either way, it's redemption for last week in Miami. Pole position, winning feature number 1. He will start 10th to try and win this race overall, as Broderick Johnson comes home 2nd, Pritchard 3rd. 4th will be Paul Crone, rallying back after that incident that he had, as Cali Bajan looks like she can hold off Stephen Gibson for 5th spot. And hats off to her. And like you were mentioning, that issue on lap number 1. So Bajan will come back, finish 5th in the first feature. 6th for Stephen Gibson. 7th for Logan Lax. Pritchard, as he was just off the track there. So it was Thomas Watson, and I believe, there we go, Aaron Totten. So that's our finishing order for feature number 1. And you'll flip that grid for the second feature race. Cody, what were your thoughts on that race?
That was a pretty tame race, I would say. It was kind of what I was imagining, what was going to go on going into the infield there, where someone was going to try to get a little bit more out of it. And our series owner actually was the one where Dylan Thomas tried making a daring move, and it almost worked for him. Unfortunately, just got a little bit of too much into someone's bumper and turned him. And Cali Bajan, unfortunately, got the wrong end of the stick on that. So now we're going to re-rack them, and we're going to invert them, and we're going to send them back out there for 20 more minutes and see what happens.
As a couple programming notes while we are in this warm-up session. Remember, the Overwatch Specialty Service NASA Rallycross Challenge. The 26th season will come to a close tomorrow from the Phoenix Raceway in Avondale, Arizona. You'll join myself and Philip Kraus. Hopefully Philip Kraus. He wasn't feeling good last week, so thoughts to him. I think, of course, feeling better. I think it was just a migraine. So either way, we're going to have coverage starting at 9 p.m. Eastern on ASN Live. That's going to be a good race, Cody. We got Magnus Okenhaug and Francois Martel battling for that championship. Or sorry, not Magnus. Alex Abetty. I don't know where I was going with that. After Magnus had his issues, and so did Josh Klog. So we had 4 cars. It's down to 2. It's an 8-point gap. You know Phoenix pretty well. You snuck through into your final feature race there. Maybe a preview thought on what's going to happen tomorrow?
Oh yeah, that was Phoenix is one of my favorite rallycross circuits that we have here on the service. So it's a really fun race. Anything can happen. That jump is, I almost want to say, is probably one of the trickiest jumps we have on the service. Just because you got to hit it almost just perfect every single lap, and you don't have much of a run to it, so you got to make sure you're squared up. You got to kind of remind yourself, like, almost to open up the steering to make sure, like, right when you're about to leave the ground, that, like, to straighten out the steering, make sure, so you're trying to battle the cars around you and yourself to make sure you're hitting just every mark perfectly. So it should be an entertaining race. See if anyone can come in with an upset. Hopefully we can see a couple first-time drivers in the finals, like I was. I was probably one of the only finals I've made once we moved to iRacing. So, and who knows? I might have to
Super
come back
exciting.
tomorrow night.
Might have to come back tomorrow night. Just
I-
don't get in the way of the championship competitors.
No, oh God, no.
As
You know me, I would never.
as Bryan Sawyer was pulling up that second bit of the programming note before we'll go over event standings. So we're super excited that all the graphics are working this evening. Second programming note for the Automotive Sports Network. Next week, the EMSA Service Experts eRoval Series will be at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the racing capital of the world. Super fun race, super fun track, always a favorite. And there's so many viewing angles when you're there in person. I'll be geeking out on that one. Like I said, Cody Erdmann next to me, Josh Mertz. We'll have Bryan Sawyer in the production truck next week, 9 p.m. Eastern. As event points, as like I had mentioned, it's going to be an average of the two feature race results, but we'll take a look as fastest through warm-up Paul Krohn with the yellow number plate points leader. As if I remember correctly, I think I saw that Drinjen Wang was leading points, obviously enough, due to winning that first feature race. But I'm not sure if it's going to pop back up. There it is. Broderick Johnson, Jordan Pritchard, Paul Krohn, Callie Bajent, Gibson, Lax, Thomas, Watson, Totten. And what's interesting when we look at this gridding versus finished, we don't have a graphic for it, but Krohn started second, finished fourth. Pritchard started fifth, finished third. He was the highest moving driver, it looks like, because he gained, well, on paper it doesn't look significant, but these cars so super close together, Cody.
Yeah, I would say Krohn, Johnson, and Wang, them three seem to be kind of the fast three tonight. And unfortunate for Krohn for having the mistake there in the first race, but now he's going to have a better starting position than the other two, so he'll be kind of the one blazing the path through the field. So hopefully he isn't caught up in anything like same as the other three, with Pritchard, Johnson, and Wang. So see if them four essentially can make it through the field. And whoever comes out on top will be our overall winner tonight.
As I was trying to get access to warm-up times, but it's not going to let me. Out of the couple of cars that I can see, Paul Krohn 52009, and I think that goes along with the graphic that we saw a couple moments ago. As I just want to make sure that I haven't lost you, as my audio has called it quits through iRacing, so hopefully I can still hear you guys.
I say I can hear you perfectly fine.
As I cannot. Oh, this is going to be a good one. As let's see if I'm back now. I am back. Hello. As we get ready for the second feature race, I don't know what happened there. Apologies for that one. But this is the invert grid, remember? And this is going to be a wonderful race. Aaron Totten's on pole, James Watson, Dylan Thomas, Logan Lax, Gibson, Bajent, Krohn, Pritchard, Johnson, Drinjen Wang. That's our running order as we get ready for this second feature. Remember, our series and coverage brought to you by the Service Experts Advantage Program. Get worry-free comfort at one low monthly payment. Visit serviceexperts.com. For that one, green flag, maybe. Jump start for Aaron Totten. Huge jump start. So we'll have to just wait and see what happens here. I'm just going to claim that he's not in the race lead. He's a mile ahead of everybody else. It's a TWR 1-2 with Watson and Logan Lax through turns 1 and 2. Side by side, Gibson, Thomas into the wall. Callie Bajent nearly hits him. Drinjen Wang through the middle in the back of the field. Trying to sneak through one car off. It is Lax in the 25. Side by side for a moment. It's Johnson with Bajent down to turn number 5, down to Fishhook. Very scary first half of this lap, Cody. As remember, Aaron Totten with that huge jump start puts James Watson effectively in the lead. At least I'd like to think he's going to be in the lead. We'll have to wait and see.
As we're coming up to end lap 1, we're about to enter back onto the oval. As Gibson gets a good run. Yep, Totten goes to the pit lane here.
Huge run for Gibson exiting the road course. James Watson on the front straightaway in the lead. If his livery is updated on Trading Paints, he has willpower on the front of that car, and that's an absolutely spectacular meme that the TWR boys have had. To the inside, Gibson looks deep on the brakes. Can't make it happen. He's got plenty of time to do so, but he doesn't want the race leaders to bear down on him as Pritchard, Wang, Johnson, they are already up to third, fourth, and fifth. To the inside, Gibson goes. Watson defends. And Watson leading what would be a DRS train if this was F1, Cody.
Yeah, as everyone's just now in a freight train going down, paddock straight into the right, left here. Coming back onto the oval. Gibson looks to the inside.
Finding every opportunity or trying every opportunity, even if it isn't technically a passing zone. Will we see breaking of slipstream under the yellow line, which is legal, of course, as this isn't NASCAR with any out of bounds. Roderick Johnson, fastest lap, 52.633 through turns 1 and 2. So quick through the bumps, down the back straightaway, Thunder Alley, down to turn 3. Gibson deep on the brakes again. He's going to make it work. No, he doesn't. It wags around. Thomas is involved. Pritchard is involved as well.
Because that was just a complete dive bomb by Wang. He was, honestly, if there wasn't a car there, he was not making that corner.
As I'll try and roll it back as we pay attention on the main feed. And he hit the brakes. He hit the brakes right at the moment. If we can take a look, actually, and see what happened to Drinjen Wang in the 61. As it's already in progress at this moment. Let's roll it back here. Deep on the brakes. Used Watson as the brake pedal. And I don't think Johnson was going to make that corner either. We saw the trajectory of that car. Maybe he was just reacting to them and thought they were going to go further left. But, wow. Gibson, Bajent, Krohn, the top 3 right now, Cody.
Yeah, now Krohn's going to have a good rally. He was actually probably one of the worst ones that had the start of the Fast Four. But now, after the calamity that just happened, now he's sitting in the podium, putting pressure on Callie Bajent at the moment. And Gibson now is out front. Got a good little cushion between him and Bajent.
So Johnson sits in 4th. Yes, Josh, we're going to talk about finishing orders right now. Absolutely, I am. Broderick Johnson will tentatively win this race overall if it were to end right now. Yes, we're only a quarter of the race in. 2nd and 4th, split that down the middle. It's 3 points. As I don't think Krohn is 4th and 3rd, Bajent 5th and 7th. So everybody else has higher results. And Drinjen Wang in 8th, as we're focused here on Krohn and Bajent exiting turn 2. Will Krohn peek to the inside? Same braking spot, maybe a bit earlier. He's got the momentum. Very tricky as the car looks like you ride those bumps entering turn 3, Cody, and it floats you through the corner on the very left side.
As Bajent gets a better run. Oh, Krohn.
Aggressive move.
Deep on the brake there.
Little hip check through fishhook, but Krohn to 2nd.
Krohn sees his opportunity of possibly winning this race. Sees kind of the front of the Fast Four at the moment, so we'll see if he can get through the field, not make any mistakes, unlike what happened in the first one. So see if now he can catch up to Gibson, who is a 1.2 in front of him.
This would make it to where technically Krohn and Johnson would be tied on the overall results. But like I mentioned, the second feature race would be the tiebreaker. So Krohn would technically win this race by finishing 2nd over 4th over Johnson, that is. So Krohn can, of course, you want to push, you want to get the glory, you want to get the win at the front of the field, especially if you know that you're going to win this race overall. But you also have that in your pocket where it's like, do I really want to push and win this race? But with Ian Lane out, Krohn wants every point that he can get, especially because, like we mentioned, Cody, Ian Lane's drop week was round 1 at Daytona. He had 29 points. Those 29 points are going to get implemented in his total, and it's going to replace, or the 0 is going to replace for his drop week.
Yeah, so we're going to, next week, we're going to have a kind of a different looking points, I think, with that being the case. So now Krohn, he just threw up the fastest lap time of the race, so that's an extra point as well to him. So that's just going to add to the whole point situation we were just talking about.
Crucial for that. Gibson squirrely through turn 3. Krohn all over the rear wing. As one car around Pritchard. Thomas trying not to take it off for the race lead. That's Broderick Johnson in the 82. As Krohn and Gibson battling for the race lead. One car off, it's Johnson really having issues. If you can take a look at the main battle for the lead off monitor, Pritchard got loose in 1 and 2, overcorrected, and got slammed by Dylan Thomas in turn 2. Huge hit. And then it was a separate incident for Broderick Johnson. He hit the bumps that we were talking about and just lost it under braking. He is battling now Logan Lax for P4. Battle for the lead up front once again. Gibson versus Crone. And taking a look at that huge hit from Thomas to Jordan Pritchard. Crone peeked to the inside. They parked it on the apex twice. Both of them did. Battling for this race lead. I think Gibson knows that he doesn't have the pace over Crone here, Cody.
Yeah, as he's putting on a masterclass of defense right now, trying to hold on to everything he can. Which this is letting Callie Bajan catch up to these two. So if anything happens, she's going to be in the catbird seat of possibly winning overall, I would think.
As finishing 5th, currently 3rd, that would be 4 points. Anything can happen. We've seen it happen. Of course, it's the slogan for NASA Rallycross, but I also almost want to implement it in this series as well. And like we said last week, proud to announce that the Automotive Sports Network will return for Season 2, assuming that's 2023A of the EMSA Service Experts eRoval series. As running wide as Gibson, late apex for Crone, sneaks to the inside, and this is exactly why I say that anything can happen, Cody, because a battle for the lead like this, such incredible racing, and Gibson all over the track.
As he's just pushing as hard as he possibly can just to keep in front of Crone, our point leader.
As he would not win this race overall. 6th in the first feature, 1st in this one. But he sure would give it a try to try and win this and get the points. Because I'm not entirely sure what they classify in the results book, but I know that I would classify feature wins and overall wins in the stat book. So if they do that, Gibson wants to put his name in that stat book in his first start. Last lap for Crone, he was 0.2 down on Gibson. You notice those bumps in turn 3 with those painted lines. That was what caught out Broderick Johnson and pushed him further to the left off the road earlier on.
Daz, this is an older circuit. I don't think it's been touched since about early to mid 90s, I would say, as they are looking to repave it actually right now. Hopefully so it's a fresh repay for 2023. So wonder if we're going to get that here on the service in the next year or two as they come back on the oval. Now they're starting to swing it out wider than they were in the beginning when Watson was out front. Starting to swing it out to about the middle of the oval. Keep it nice and tight here. Ooh, Gibson
on the paint.
Catching the curb or catching the apron there a little bit.
Huge run for Crone exiting turn 2 as a result. Through the bumps, through turn 3. Crone clipped the grass, pushes him out wide. And now we're going to see that chess match like we historically have for the last 5 weeks of what's going to happen for this race lead. Let's get an update. Callie Bajan sits in 3rd like you mentioned, and she is in the catbird seat to win this feature if something goes wrong between these top 2. 4th place, as I was going to go over it, Crone looks. Thought better of it. 4th place, Logan Lax. 5th, Broderick Johnson. 6th, Drinjan Wang, what could have been for him. 7th, Totten. 8th, Dylan Thomas. Pritchard in the pit lane. Watson in the pit lane. So effectively we have 6 cars in this race. Like I always say, though, it doesn't matter how many cars you have. One of my first races that wasn't NASCAR was the American Le Mans Series in 2012 at Road America. There were 2 cars in the prototype class, and there was a photo finish. That is when I said, I don't care if it's 2 cars or 200 cars. It's going to be a great race either way.
As we've proven it back in the old NASA fashion days, we're proving it here. We only have 10 cars, only 6 are, 8 are on track, 6 are on the lap, and we're still putting on a cracking battle here for the win.
As last lap for Gibson was a 53.739. Not a good update that I want to tell you right now, but Jordan Pritchard has disconnected from the session. So the man that was looking so good finished 3rd in the first feature, will finish 8th in the second feature. Not a good day for the ASN car for Sequential Sim Sport. Crone ran a 53.2. He was 0.2 up. It looks like you can get such a run exiting 2. He's going to run a weird line in turn 3. Gibson defends, runs it wide. Krohn has that move on lock, but he never puts it all the way through in the corner. Maybe he just doesn't want to do that yet. But it's going to be interesting to see as just under halfway left. Halfway home, I should say.
Yeah, as Krohn right now, he's pretty much kind of trying to figure out what his move is going to be coming to the end here. He's starting to figure out where he's faster than Gibson. Runs it a little bit, catches a bit too much of the curb, runs wide. He's just trying to figure out what move he wants to make and when just kind of a good setup time. I thought he was going to try just to run around the outside of Gibson there, but he looks like he wanted to make the crossover. And I just think that exit of that coming back through that little short shoot, I think that exit of that corner is a little bit too tight. So where he can't make it is he's got a good run going into the infield here. Let's see if he does anything with it.
He's done the same thing every single time, but now he's on the outside of Gibson in the 21. Experimenting with breaking points, trying, because almost, I would say, if you can stay to the right-hand side fully of Gibson, get the run on the inside, it's going to be hard to do because there is no camber, no banking to hold you on turn 3. But we've seen some spectacular moves throughout this season as Gibson leads Krohn by just under half a second.
And honestly, if Krohn is able to hold on the outside of that corner coming into the infield, he's going to be on the inside of every single, the next 4 corners, essentially, where they're all right-handed corners. So if he's on the right side of Gibson after that first infield corner, he's going to be able to clear him and then check out from Gibson and Bagent.
2/10 up on the last lap. Gibson defending hard on the inside. Bagent getting closer and closer to sneaking into this picture. Krohn to the inside. He's not going to wait anymore. Contact between them. Off the road goes Gibson. Here comes Bagent through to second.
Bagent able to capitalize here. No.
As maybe what is happening, Paul Krohn letting Gibson by and Callie Bagent to the race lead. What did I just say?
I honestly think that was Krohn playing good sportsman, giving the spot back, and Bagent getting the 2-for-1 with the whole fiasco. So now she's out front with 6 minutes left here. Honestly, and where Johnson is, she may end up taking the overall.
It's 5-1. To be that, it's 6 by 2. So that's a 3-point. Gibson would be 4. Paul would be 3.5. Johnson would be 7, 3.5. You are correct. Looking at quick math, this might result, if she can hold it, in Callie Bagent stealing the show. But if Krohn can get by Gibson, that would change everything. This is why I love this kind of racing. Thank you for joining us on ASN Live or ASN On Demand for the EMSA Service Experts eRoval Series. What a twist we have had as we are just over 3/4 of the way through this race.
As honestly, this is what Bagent wants to see right now, is Krohn put the pressure on Gibson so she can just check out and then run her own race. As Krohn did catch up back to the back wing of Gibson there.
Through oval turn 1 and 2, a 53.5 to a 53.7. So Bagent a couple tenths down, but that doesn't necessarily matter if you can hold off the traffic through this tricky infield. Gibson sneaks to the inside, thought better of it. Krohn all over both of them. I'd be shaking in my boots if I was Callie Bagent. Inside, Krohn looks on Gibson again. Gibson's going to give him the room there. And I'm not entirely sure if that was planned or that was just, I'm just going to send it and see what happens.
I think that was, he meant to kind of shoot it up the inside, but unfortunately I think he went a little bit farther than he initially planned. So it kind of shoved him out, and I don't think Krohn being the point leader and kind of understanding that he wouldn't want to be raced that way, so he just gave the spot back up and got back going again. It's kind of one thing that in my RC racing days that one of the best announcers that we had, Scotty, he would force drivers to do that. If he saw it, he would tell them, like, wait, let them get the spot back and then go back battling again. So good sportsmanship by these two, and hey, I would say if I was in Callie's shoes right now, that she'll take it anyway, be able to win the overall. So I think she's probably kind of happy that Krohn was able to do that.
Because that would be 3.5. Logan Lax is 11. That would be 5.5. Johnson 2 and 5. That'd be 3.5. So Bagent is in the overall lead with 3 points. Remember, it's an average, one car off track. Totten in the 28. And now Gibson just over half a second through turn 1. Krone, huge run. This changes everything for that result. Not everything, like half of the way, because if Krone can get by Gibson, that would tie him with Bagent, but Bagent's leading on the road. So he's got not a lot of time to potentially win this race.
No, we're just about 3 minutes down, so it's just about 3 laps. So about 3 laps to go here once they get to the line. As Gibson's rear tires seem like they're kind of getting a little bit overheated, trying to keep Krone behind them. So letting Callie just stretch that lead out ever so slightly.
Just over 3 minutes. We're going to hit this next lap with just under 3 minutes left to go here in Rockingham. You'd have told me that Callie Bagent would have started 6th in the first heat race, or the first feature, and then potentially win this race. I would have told you that you were crazy. What happened with our points leaders? But calamity always happening. Gibson peeks to the inside. On Bagent. Looks, nearly contact, thought better of it. Off the road goes Bagent, and the 114 comes out into Krone. That takes her out of the overall lead here.
Good save there.
Peeks to the inside. And I don't think that was on her. Well, she did drive off the road, but I would say that's more on Gibson. Gibson kind of pressured her into that mistake. So we'll just have to wait and see. We saw these two come together a couple minutes ago, Krone and Gibson. But let's get a running order update overall at least. Final corner. Crossing the start-finish line. So Gibson back to the race lead in this feature. Krone second. Third is Bagent. That puts Krone into the race lead. And overall, or in second in this, and in the overall lead, I should say. He's not done, though.
Krone looking up the inside now. He's going to be on the outside here, going in the right-hander. See what happens.
Gibson return the favor. Deep on the brakes. Krone nearly gives him a little nudge. Lapped car, it's going to be Dylan Thomas in the 00. Gibson with 7 points, put him at 3.5. Krone with 3 points, put him in the lead. Bagent with 4 points. That'll take her off the overall podium, I think. We'll just have to wait and see. We're going to hit this with just over a minute, I believe. We'll have at least 2 laps to go here in Rockingham.
And that is true. No white flag yet.
No white flag in Rockingham. We'll probably see the white flag next time around. Callie Bagent wants these two to come together again. I don't know if Krone wants to do that again, and I don't know if Gibson wants to do that again. Krone deep on the brakes on the outside. Entering turn 3. Thomas spun it. Maybe distracted Gibson.
Ooh,
Krone looks to the inside. Down the straightaway. Down to Fishhook turn 5. Will Krone send it to the inside again? He does. Closes the door, does Gibson.
Ooh,
Gibson gets a little nudge from Krone. Exiting turn 5. Down the straightaway again. Through 6, through 7. We're going to have 1 lap to go, I think, Cody. And Krone's not done.
Krone's just now starting to apply the pressure as much as he possibly can. See if he can do it. Coming to the white flag here.
As we are getting the white flag from race control. This is it in Rockingham. Paul Krone tentatively in the... No! Jin Wang is in 4th. He might win this race overall. I'll have to calculate while we're done. Krone nudges the wall, entering turn 3. Deep on the brakes, nudges Gibson. Pushes him wide, hits the brakes. Good sportsmanship.
Yeah, honestly, Gibson's mistake almost saved him there. As it kind of slid up and it was able to get equally pushed. Not like he accidentally got hooked in a quarter panel. Ooh.
As to Gibson!
Catches the tires.
Around he goes. What is this going to do to the overall?
As
Final corner.
So Wang now up to P3.
So Paul Krone's going to come off the final corner, win feature number 2. Callie Bagent will come home to finish 2nd. 3rd, Gibson has recovered to 3rd, just ahead of Jin Wang. So we'll take a look here. So it's 2.5 points for Krone. It's 3.5 points for Bagent. Gibson 3rd, Wang 4th, 5th Logan Lax. And I think taking a quick look, that will unofficially give Drin Wang the unofficial victory overall here in Rockingham. What an up and down. Am I back now?
Yep,
Bryan?
you are good now.
As I'm not sure when I dropped, but I'm trying to do a calculation on who unofficially has won this race. But I think it might be Drin Wang, finished first and then fourth.
I want to say you are correct. But didn't Paul do that in the first one?
So let's do this.
Yes, he finished fourth in the first one. So them two would be tied. Them two are tied, so Crone would be our official winner.
So let's do this. So that would be Paul Crone who wins this race. So I didn't see that. Paul Crone, and there it is. Crone will win overall. Drin Wang second. Callie Bajent still on the podium. Broderick Johnson, Stephen Gibson, Jordan Pritchard, Lax Totten, Thomas Watson, our running order. Wow. As we will begin to pull in everybody here to have a chat. As Cody will bring in Stephen Gibson once he comes back here. And Stephen Gibson is here. Cody, all yours.
Hey there, Stephen. You got us?
Yeah, I got you, man.
First off, congratulations on running a really good battle between you, Paul Crone, and Bajent. What were you thinking there when Paul he made that daring move going on the inside of that double apex, and then gave the spot backs? What were you thinking when that all happened?
Oh, it was okay. I mean, I knew he just went in there hot and kind of locked it up, and I mean, it's okay. I mean, I don't know if I did that in the turn one of the race. I still have no idea. I have to go back and check that out if I got into that dude on my outside or not. But I mean, I'm not mad about anything. And when he gave the spot back, I thought that was pretty cool. I wasn't really expecting that, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, it was nice.
Daz, you were just out front leading, and then just the tires get a little bit hot there with that mistake, or did you accidentally clip the grass?
Yeah, I think the tires they were just at the end of their life. Just me and him just battling for so much. That last turn, I believe it's turn 3 or whatever it is, coming off the track into the infield. That was once I hit that point, I knew my tires were gone. So it was just a matter of trying not to mess up, and still ended up messing up somehow. I mean, I'm still happy to get a third place regardless. I thought for sure I was gonna mess up even more than that, but it was a fun race tonight. First time being able to race everybody, so hopefully we can do this more often.
Daz, you ran a really good run for your debut round here in Rockingham. Anyone you'd like to thank on bringing home P3 and feature number 2?
Yeah, I'd like to just thank Rusty Nugget, my boy, for helping me get better at iRacing so much. We do a lot of oval racing, so this kind of fit into my style a little bit. I mean, even though it's not stock cars, still pretty much the same. So just like to thank out him, and then all my friends, and just the league for letting me in, and good racing.
Sounds good. Hopefully we'll see you back with us at Indianapolis.
All right, thank you, man.
Thank you.
As our second place, as it was tied between Callie Bajent and Paul Crone, but because Crone won overall, he wins the tiebreaker. But Callie Bajent, great run. Cody Erdmann, all yours.
Hey there, Callie, got us?
Yep.
Congratulations on finishing P3 overall. You were so close there on possibly winning overall with you leading. Just unfortunately, a couple of things shook up there. How do you think your race went with being able to be run up front and with a one or a point leader?
I wasn't expecting to be leading the race at any point. I definitely benefited from the contact from the other 2 cars on the podium in this feature. My results could have been better had I not been pushed off. Unfortunately, that became a recurring event over the last 2 features, but otherwise, a P2 is a nice result.
Yeah, as in the first feature, kind of gave you a shout out there for giving you a good rally back from that turn 1 incident, which ended up helping you get to P3 overall. Is anyone you'd like to thank on getting you to being on your first overall podium here for the season?
Definitely all the people at Team Watson Racing. They help keep me just centered during the racing, and good people, good racing from them.
For sure as well. Hopefully we'll see you back on the podium there for the round at Indianapolis.
I sure hope so.
And we have Paul Crone, our overall race winner. And you had an up and down race, my friend. But I want to ask, the crazy move into turn 5, did you just say we're going to send it, or did you make a mistake, or what happened there?
Yeah, I kind of just sent it in, and I just it worked on Cali earlier in the race, so I decided to try it again. It's kind of people don't really are expecting it, but Steven was kind of held his own, and I just ended up getting into him, and I probably sent it in too hard. But yeah, and then I ended up pushing off the road. Felt bad about that, so I gave the spot back, and of course that let Callie through. But yeah, that's I hope I made it. I hope I made it exciting for you guys in that second race.
As it absolutely was. I actually was going to ask. I probably, if I was in one of these cars, I know that I'd be wondering where am I overall, like race result wise. Did you have that thought at all when Callie got by you?
No, I wasn't really thinking about that. I was just kind of bummed that I ran Steven off the road. Um, so I gave a spot back, and I didn't. I guess she finished behind me in the first race. But I wasn't really thinking of that. I mean, towards the end, I was kind of looking to see who was where. But that was just like on the last straightaway into the finish line. But I wasn't really focused on that. I'm just out there trying to get the best possible uh position I can.
And last question is, I was on track to actually take a look at that one of the moves on Bajent there. As I was on track practicing in test drive, and one of the corners that really was tricky was finding the braking point to turn 3. How easy was it to think that, oh yeah, I can brake super late, and then you don't have the track to support you in entering that corner?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a lot of turn 1 on Rovals are alike, but that one really makes a hard left. Towards the end of the race, I was kind of figuring out a couple different lines. You can kind of, I think you really kind of want to break straight, and then you can really hook it in, or you can kind of go inside, take the more defensive line. But yeah, first couple laps in practice, I went off. I think like 2 or 3 times in a row there, maybe made me feel like I was just starting again.
As anyone you'd like to thank for your win overall this evening?
I know I'd like to thank you guys for the broadcast. Thank the league. Thank Dylan Thomas for my new paint job, and of course all the drivers, everybody that showed up tonight. It's a fun race. Um, battling with Steven, that was a good time. It's too bad to see himself spin on the last lap. I kind of thought he deserved the win, and what do you know? I got lucky again. I've told you guys this before. I just keep getting lucky breaks. Luck's gonna run out sooner or later. But it does. Good night.
As luckily we do have the drop week, so if anything goes wrong, you'll have that to rely on. Cody, you got anything for our race winner this evening?
No, it's kind of becoming a regular occurrence. Well, I will have to say, have you put any testing or anything into Indianapolis? Is that's probably me. I would say our closest typical road course we'll have this whole season. Have you put any testing into that? Looking forward to next week.
No, I haven't. I haven't looked at it yet. I might make a session or two in this week. I didn't get any practice time in on this track this week, but I raced the trucks there and the Xfinity cars there a couple weeks ago. Or I guess a little bit longer than that. So that's really the only experience I have there. It's a new track, but I like it. I'm looking forward to it.
As good run this evening, and we hope you can carry your luck to Indianapolis.
Thanks, guys.
As that was our overall race winner, Paul Crone. We'll take a look unofficially at the point standings before we get some final thoughts from this evening. Paul Crone maintains the points lead. Remember, this isn't with the drop weeks factored in, so it is, says Bryan Sawyer. So that is a huge gap for Paul Crone, Cody. Wow.
As with Ian not being here and unfortunately now separating the drop week, that's going to pretty much kill him in a way. So now Johnson up to P2. Yeah, it's what, about 30 points roughly, the difference. So it's going to be tough for 25. So it's going to be tough for Broderick, but one bad full round, I would say, from Crone will be could put Johnson right in it. Also, Callie jumping in the top 10. Good run by her with having her podium. Essentially her team owner, James Watson, up one spot as well. Kind of the TWR cars, all three of them actually are gaining spots. So, good job by them as a team.
As a couple programming notes, like we've mentioned throughout this coverage this evening, the Overwatch Specialty Service NASA Rallycross Challenge, the finale at Phoenix tomorrow. You'll join myself and Philip Kraus, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on ASN Live on Twitch. We're going to see who comes out on top between German Alex Abetti, French-Canadian Francois Martel. Going to be an absolutely fascinating race there to cap off the 26th season. For the EMSA Service Experts eRoval Series, we continue on round 7 to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in Speedway, Indiana, right south on I-65 coming from Chicago. It's a wonderful drive. I make it multiple times a year to the racing capital of the world. From all of us at the Automotive Sports Network, from Philip Kraus, Bryan Sawyer, Cody Erdmann, my name is Josh Mertz. We hope you enjoyed today's coverage of the EMSA Service Experts eRoval Series. Remember, our coverage and series are both brought to you by the Service Experts Advantage Program. Get worry-free comfort at one low monthly payment. And for more information, serviceexperts.com. Crazy race this evening. Such a spectacular race, as always. We hope to see you tomorrow for Rallycross or Sunday next week for some more EMSA eRoval action. But until then, so long, everyone.